let's talk about, I think the next three teams to me are clumped. I don't know where you guys see Oregon. Adam, you referenced Bo Nix. UCLA, I am very high. I picked them second to finish in the league. I
Wow.
love their schedule. I love a ton of their players. I can get into the weeds if you'd like. And then the Trojans, which are the great unknown. And as Lincoln Riley said, and I will quote it, is the most unique roster in the history of college football. 20 transfers, right? Only eight true freshmen are on this roster right now from this last signing day class. So where do you want to attack? George, I'll start with you of like, who do you see next as of now and why?
I see it 2A and 2B,
Okay.
and they're both LA schools. I think they're both better than Oregon. And really from the quarterback standpoint and staff play caller standpoint, Chip Kelly and Lincoln Riley, they've been in the wars. Like they really have had to like kind of maybe not reinvent themselves or their attack plan, but they've had to revamp it mid-game because they're going up against an opposite equal on the other side. Both of them have done that. Now think about this. The two LA schools, first UCLA has a 5-year starter coming up in DTR. 5 years, you can't buy that kind of experience. You cannot buy that type. 5 years, he's going to put these records, in a place they can never be touched. But records aside, there's no scenario he hasn't been in. I think the game that really like is going to anchor his career was beating LSU at home. And Yogi, when we saw him this summer, Adam, he said, I asked him, when did you know you had that game won? He goes, man, second or third series. Second or third series. He goes, yeah, coach, second or third series. We knew what the motion was doing. I understood our physicality at the front. Hey, we can do some things. We can run the ball between the tackles. And then he said he just turned to Chip and he goes, run it, call it. We got it. So USC, but as much as I'm excited about UCLA, SC, they have a monster over there in Caleb Williams. And I'm not just talking about these traditional quarterback aspects of arm as a rocket, because it is, and he's an incredible athlete because he is, but because he makes these winning Derek Jeter type plays. Kansas on the road last year, the wheels are coming off at Oklahoma. He just took over and it's not going well. They're messing around in Lawrence, Kansas, and the Jayhawks are jumping all over him the third quarter. 3rd and 2, he hands off, back gets stopped in the backfield. Caleb, instead of watching and just like wishing it to happen, reaches, takes the ball, goes and gets the first down on his own. Just takes it from the running back. Give it to me. I'll go get it done. And then from then on, that's special. That's a competitor. That's not, I'm playing a role. I need to slide in the open field or do all these things. I'm a football player who's really a monster, who's really lined up at quarterback. And now, like Yogi said, they got all these free agents. Like they signed more free agents than I think any of the NFL teams did. Stayed just under the cap, apparently. And so now what are they going to do? And now the schedule sets up for some interesting matchups, but I don't know if they're insurmountable. So to put a bow on that, Utah, the city of LA, Oregon.
Okay. All right. We'll get to Oregon. Don't worry. Go ahead, Adam.
I like it, but I got USC as the best team in the conference. I think USC's. I think they're way too talented. You look at the playmakers they brought in, like you just said, they hit free agency and they hit it hard. I think they signed like six high school recruits, and the rest were transfers. But obviously Caleb Williams, you said it. Jordan Addison might have been the biggest pickup of the offseason for any receiver across the country. Obviously was the Biletnikoff Award winner. Mario Williams. I mean, he has so many guys to throw to. They at tight end, Malcolm Epps, who's a guy that no one's talking about, played at Texas, is big and long and gives them a red zone target. They got the 2 transfer running backs in, the best running back from Oregon, the best running back from Stanford. And they're so talented all over the place. Obviously, the concern is the offensive line, as it almost always is for USC. But I think Caleb Williams is dynamic enough to figure it out. I think Lincoln Riley will scheme around it, and I think the defense is going to be better than people think. I think Corey Foreman's going to have a breakout year. For so long we've seen these 5 stars at USC, not turn into what everyone expected, but I think Corey Foreman comes into his own this year. Damani Jackson was the big signing for USC at DB. I think he could be one of the freshman breakout players in the Pac-12. So I love you. I love USC, man. I've been on the USC hype train all off season, and I hope I don't regret it. But I mean, obviously love UCLA too. To me, it's a make or break year for Chip Kelly. I mean, they've had, they had the offseason controversy with the contract extension. They're not recruiting super well right now. He has DTR back for his 5th season. Zach Charbonnet's there, and he's one of the best running backs in the Pac-12. So I think it's a big year for Chip Kelly. But I don't think they're going to end the year being the best team in LA.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to learn so much about tight ends this year. I'm so excited about this. Adam brings he's cracking this box open that I've never really peeked into, except for your headliners. This is going to be great.
Well, if I do believe this, that about 5 years ago, the Pac-12 conference, if you go back and watch guys, like the tight end became a theme.
Yeah.
It's become a position when you look at guys that played in college and or found their way to the NFL. It's become a thing. And I think it's starting to get more notoriety. The fact that Brant Keithy isn't on the Mackey Award watch list, to me, is just wrong, right? And
he wasn't?
No, because the argument is that, he doesn't put his hand in the dirt. And I say, find me tight ends that only put their hands in the dirt. The sport is changing. So I challenge us, and maybe our listeners can give us a new idea. What is the position called, right? If tight end's not going to get you to the Mackey Award watch list, at least, and you're not a wide receiver, what are you? Because you are arguably, and not even argue, I think he's a top 5 impact player in this league, and he's a bear to try to defend. So let's go to defense for SC. I can't wait to watch them, fellas. As I referenced earlier, I'm calling that opener. It was 8 high school guys that they signed, 20 transfers, and a bunch of them were on defense, right? Multiple defensive linemen, linebackers. Eric Gentry, one of the more talented guys in the country. I was just with Ted Robinson, my broadcast partner, and he reminds his body type of Alden Smith in terms of how long he is and athletic he is. I like the secondary and how they've developed. The challenge that I'm most intrigued to watch about SC is that this training camp, right, the 29 practices or so that you have, and call it, 17, 18 when you're really going, right, because they start really game prep. Most teams have started that today and tomorrow in major college football. How quickly can you get up to speed? And that's what Lincoln Riley told his team, when they began training camp, which was, okay, fellas, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. We haven't all practiced together. So how quickly can we trust each other? And how quickly can that trust turn into accountability and knowing what to do? And I think that's going to be a real fun challenge for them, because the reality is their opponents, at least in conference, they've only gotten tighter, right? If you look at SC to kick off the season, they're going to go to Stanford in week 2, who I think is undervalued, especially in offense. They've got weapons. They're not SC explosive at wideout, but they're right below them, in my opinion, in the conference. Michael Wilson, who George and I know you and I both love him. Bryson Tremaine, who's finally healthy back from injury. John Humphreys at 6'5" is a big weapon. Ben Urasic, talk tight ends, is a real talented one. A nice tight end out of Tennessee from Trent Dilfer's high school. Sam Roush is going to be there and have an impact. So I wonder how quickly the defense gets rolling, because then comes Jake Haener, who we could argue is in the conversation for top 3 quarterback on the West Coast. I don't even think that's much of a dramatic argument with how he produced last year. He's in the dialogue. And then they go to Oregon State. I just came back from Oregon State. That team is as solid of a team as I've seen. Right. So that's what I'm most intrigued is, they're loaded. How quickly can it happen? I don't know. I don't think any of us know, because we've never seen this before. And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
So you would really put the pressure on Alex Grinch and the defensive staff.
Well, I think it's everywhere, because playing wide receiver, and Adam, you're a tight end, and George, you're a quarterback. I do think there's something to repetitions, right? And Mario Williams came from Oklahoma, so there's a bond there. But Jordan Addison just started practicing camp. And I think first and second down, no problem. But I do wonder when it's a third down and you're running a drive route and you got to sit. based on linebacker leverage or whatever it may be. Like, those are the things, like, and I'm not negative on it. I'm honestly just so curious. That's why I'm so pumped. Like, I don't think I've been more excited to call an opener in my entire life. Like, I can't wait to call this game. So I just don't know about that. I really look forward to it, because when I go across town and see UCLA, I see the opposite. Like, I see a team that's got dramatic trust in one another. I see a team that has practiced together for a long time. I see a team that's also thrived in the transfer portal. You know, this is a team that's brought in a bunch of guys that nobody's talking about, right? Jake Bobo, I think he's an all-conference receiver, but defensively, Darius Musow, starting Mike linebacker, he's all Mountain West linebacker last year at Hawaii. They bring in Azizi Hearn, a cornerback from Wyoming who started there a year ago, played really well on defense. They bring in two twins from North Texas to play the Murphy twins to play the edges after losing two edges in the transfer portal to Miami and Cal respectively. So I just think that, like, we love up SC all the time in the portal, and I think UCLA should get some love, and their core is back with one of the top 3 running backs in the country. And I think the surest thing at running back in this league for the NFL is Zach Charbonnet. That's why I'm high on just the makeup right now. And then you look at the schedule. UCLA's first 3, because of Michigan and Georgia's buddy out there, they bailed on playing UCLA. So now they have to pick up a non-conference that's at FCS level. They're playing 3 non-cons to start the season. I don't know what really happened with that, but that was who they were supposed to play. So for everybody that lights up UCLA's schedule, Michigan bailed on what was supposed to be a game. So now they start off 3-0. I think they can make some noise before they host Utah, I think in week 6 of the season, which could be 2 undefeated teams with a lot of anticipation.
Well, I'm with you on this. I like the thing that just jumps out at me about the Trojans, and again, the whole restaurant says under new management, they gave up more points than Arizona did last year per game, almost 32 points a game. So all that firepower, but do you have like a defense mechanism? Only Stanford was worse, and they weren't that much worse. And you're right, defenses tend to like gel quicker and get going, but that's if you got, you know, a lot of momentum coming in from last year, but new scheme, new staff. I don't know how active they were in terms of the free agency side. I'm sure they were.
Oh, they did great. They got 2 guys from your favorite conference with the Jurassic Park down there in the SEC. They get Shane Lee, an inside backer from Alabama. Then coming off the edge, they get Romello Height from Auburn. So they did well, you know, in the portal. But to that point, I just go back to, like, you guys know, you probably played both ways, whether you were in high school or you watched it in college or you've seen it. Like, I really believe the best defenses are like they're connected, right? They move
on a
together.
string.
Yeah, exactly. They move together. And, you know, this is an active defense. You study Alex Grinch, who I remember him in Pullman at Wazoo with Mike Leach, and then he went to Ohio State, and then he ended up, of course, at Oklahoma. It's active. And when you're active, and that's going to be the question, like, how active? Because you can miss a gap. You know, like, it's just going to be fun because their opponents, and this is what gets no play, the Trojans' opponents, they're real. Like, they're really sound is probably the better way to say it. Stanford's going to be sound on offense. See what they are on defense. Fresno State, dramatically sound. Jeff Tefford coming back to run that program. They won't miss a beat after Kalen DeBoer goes to UW. Oregon State, Jonathan Smith. I'm telling you, fellas, like, I know our producer Dagan doesn't know a lot about the Beavs, but buy the Beavs this year. And they got a tough non-con. They go to Fresno in week 2, and they start off with Boise State in a stadium under construction. But they don't have weaknesses. They might not have first rounders.
So it sounds like Grinch. Sorry, Yogi. It sounds like Grinch can't get that exotic. They may have to come out, line up, and play ball as opposed to showing different looks and walking backers up here and playing like games. When you have a veteran, familiar group like you can do, or if you're just playing lesser than talent, you can go do all that stuff. But from what you're saying, they may have to get more steak and potatoes and leave all the rest of that stuff off to the side until you put your third down packages in. Otherwise, you get gashed.
I'm going to ask them, right? We have a production meeting next week heading into the game, and it's going to be the first question. It's like, hey, what do you want to do? Because I do think at the end of the year, my hot take of the night, I think SC beats Notre Dame to finish the season and launches themselves into next year. Like, I just think it's going to take a minute for them to get into game mode. Now, this offense, move the ball all day long, man. Raleek Brown, oh my gosh. Like, they got talent to Adam's point. But I just go to my my guru in football and college football is Chris Peterson. And I asked him the day he got the job at UW, how long does it take to build a culture? And he didn't flinch and said 18 months. And that's what I think is so fun about this year for Lincoln Riley, because he knows that too. So they're trying to speed everything up. And I love what he told his team. He goes, speed around our culture and speeding it up is going to be all about trust. So I need you in. And that's what's going to be fun. I think they're all in. I think it's going to be amazing there. I'm just really intrigued. Like, I don't sit on either side of the fence. It's one I can't wait to sit back and watch.
And I think one of the, mentioning the USC defense and how, the fresh faces and Alex Grinch, I think one of the biggest signings out of the transfer portal, and I'm sure if you're, you've talked to some guys about him, Mekhi Blackman from Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Mekhi
just
Black.
the veteran presence that USC desperately needs on defense. I think it's huge. I mean, he's played a ton of football at Colorado. He was all Pac, honorable mention all Pac-12, but a veteran guy that kind of brings that stability to that USC defense and that leadership that hopefully, allows you to do some more stuff, allows you to, do more fire zone packages like Alex Grinch loves to do. And I think, it's a guy you don't really hear about a ton, but I think that's a big signing out of the portal for Lincoln Riley as I think it's kind of a big impact on that defense.
I love it.